Hey everyone, Combo here, back with another Empires and Puzzles video, and today I am going to do a roster update with you all. I'm going to go through each of my 5 colors, talk about some of my regular players in war. I will highlight 3 specific heroes of each color, maybe because I love them for challenge events or tower events and stuff like that, because I do like to place in those, or maybe they are just regular staples in every single war for me, or maybe they are just my brand new shiny toy that I got and leveled up. And this is the type of roster that you could probably expect to see in a top 25-ish alliance, which we are a top 25 alliance when we are full with the Praetorian Guardians. Right now, we actually just had 2 members decided they wanted to step down to a lower or slightly lower level alliance in the Guardians family, just for a slightly less competitive atmosphere, especially because of wars. So actually, if you are a higher level player and looking for a new alliance, hit me up on the line app, or you could reach out to me on Discord also, which I will start including in the description of each of my videos. We are always recruiting for my alliance, and then also for all of the other alliances in the Guardians family. We have another top 100 alliance with Guardians Whoop-Ass. We've got Guardians Reborn, which is our flagship alliance. We've got several other competitive alliances. We have a German-only speaking alliance. We've got mid-level alliances, training-level alliances. So we definitely have an alliance for everybody. But getting back to my roster, like I was saying, this is what you could probably expect from somebody in a top 25 alliance, and compared to the rest of the people in my alliance, I probably would rank around 10th-ish, I would think, from a roster perspective. Maybe even slightly lower, right in the middle, maybe, I don't know, but I would think probably right around 10th. I do have a lot of good heroes, but I don't necessarily have a lot of all of the brand new meta heroes. I definitely don't have Gurik, unfortunately. I would love to get him, but I do have a lot of really good offensive heroes, and starting here, obviously, with our dark heroes, you can quickly see that I've got 2 heroes that I've maxed twice, and this is actually the only color that I've done that with for legendary heroes. I've got 2 Medeas, one of them at level 90 and one of them at level 85, and actually that is a specific hero I do want to highlight. So the first one at level 90, I did go all attack on their talent path, so they've got 1906 attack, 1678 shield, and 2950 health. I maxed that second one when Bernadette was at really the height of her meta, and I wanted another shifting mindless attack hero that could get their special in just 7 tiles, which is what Medea does with that first special. She has the Changing Tides mana speed, so she gets her first special in 7 tiles, and then her second special is either in 9 tiles or sometimes in 8 tiles, depending if she gets that extra mana generation from her passive, which is like a, 50% chance or something like that, I think. Yeah, 50% chance to perform the following actions when this character casts her special skill, deals 80% damage to all enemies, and the caster gets plus 19% mana generation for 2 turns. So obviously it depends on when those tiles get matched after that goes off, if she does get that increased mana generation. But for her first charge, she deals 355% damage to the target and nearby enemies. The primary target, the one in the middle, gets shifting mindless attack for 3 turns, and then the 3 enemies also get minus 45% decreased healing for 3 turns. The second charge, which you have to use the first charge first with those Changing Tides heroes, she deals 450% damage to the target and nearby enemies. The middle target gets the shifting mindless attack for 4 turns, and then all 3 enemies get minus 85% decreased healing for 4 turns. So she is a very, very good hero. Again, I want attack path on her for the one at level 90. The one at level 85, I actually went the defense path. So let's go back to the one at 90 real quick. So this one has 1678 shield and 2950 health. The one at 85 has 1649 shield and 2499 health. I went the defense path on this one because this one is really primarily for that shifting mindless attack. It was to neutralize Bernadette, and I still use this one for that purpose for tanks as well. Sometimes I will even bring both of them to a Gurik team, which I've been doing more of lately actually, because Gurik is a cleric class, so he has a chance to resist the shifting mindless attack, but it's not often that he resists it twice. So I usually will use one of the Medeas on Gurik, and then if he resists it, then I'll use the second one to try to hit him with the shifting mindless attack the second time. I do only have 22 of the masterclass emblems on her personally I felt like the shield was more important, and I didn't want to give up the extra masterclass emblems for the health and then eventually the shield. Maybe I'll eventually add them to her. So that would be the first hero that I wanted to highlight. The second one, I'm going to say Mordowitch. And Mordowitch is a very fun hero, as anybody who has her knows. The first reason is because of that extra 50% damage that an enemy gets when they get that Mega Fiend, that last part of her special, which is very useful for Titans, especially if you don't have Gasteel. So you at least get that part of the way to increase tile damage against Titans. But she's also really good for wars as well. She is slow mana speed, which is slightly unfortunate, but her special is so good that honestly, slow mana speed makes sense. She first deals 800% damage to the target. The attack bypasses defensive buffs, heals all allies for 40% of the damage dealt, summons a Grave Mothling Mega Fiend for the target. The Fiend damages the enemy with 270% attack every turn. The Mega Fiend also absorbs healing and disappears when it has equal to 80% of the owner's max health. And then that last part, when summoned, the Mega Fiend increases the damage dealt to the target from all sources by plus 50%. The effect lasts as long as the target has that Mega Fiend. So it says all sources, that includes regular tile damage, special attacks, also damage over time factor. So if you pair her with damage over time heroes, then that is also going to get that plus 50% damage. It is also worth noting that if you use Mordowitch against Gurik, now this is mostly only beneficial if he does not have the Slime Revive status, but if you use Mordowitch against Gurik, she will attack him first for 800% damage, and then Gurik will naturally get one of those Mega Minions for dealing more than 25% damage to him, and then the Mega Fiend replaces the Mega Minion. That's the sequence of events. I've done this I don't know how many times, but it definitely works this way, where the damage happens first, the Mega Minion spawns from that damage, and then it goes to the last part of her special, and the Mega Fiend replaces the Mega Minion. Again, if he's got the Slime Revive, it's really not going to matter because he's probably going to die in the next couple turns from that Mega Fiend damage, but that is definitely a great way to kill off Gurik, again, if he does not already have the Slime Revive status. And the last hero that I want to talk about is my shiny new Dark hero, who happens to be Dark Lord, actually. I have been having a lot of fun with Dark Lord. I've actually been pairing him with my other Medeas and Dia-Chan in a 4-1 setup. So usually I'll use the two Medeas first because all of them activate in 7 tiles, including Dia-Chan. So all 4 of those purple heroes get their specials in 7 tiles, which definitely allows me to control the battle very early on. So he deals 560% damage to the target, reduces the duration of the target and nearby enemies buffs by 2 turns. Now, if I click that little question mark, it does say the duration modification affects both dispellable and undispellable effects. Now, keep that in mind that the Slime Revive status is undispellable, so it does affect that against Gurik. So that is definitely very important to note. And then the target and nearby enemies receive corrosive poison for 4 turns. The corrosive poison deals 424 poison damage and lowers the target's mana generation by minus 15% each turn. Deals extra damage against heroes with minions or a Mega Minion. And then he's got this passive where he has Curse on special skill. When this character casts their special skill, all enemies receive 706 curse damage over 4 turns, starting low and increasing every turn. So every enemy will get the curse damage. 3 enemies are going to get that corrosive poison, and then 1 enemy is going to get that snipe for 560% damage. Dark Lord does a lot of damage when you factor all of that combined at fast mana speed. He's also not a bad hero to have on your defense also because of the fact that he's fast mana speed and because of the fact that he affects so many enemies, and that corrosive poison that also has the negative 15% mana generation, also highly effective. So those would be my 3 heroes from the Dark category that I wanted to highlight. I've got other really good heroes. Obviously, Tamlin and Vard are both awesome. I love my Astral Dwarves and Woodland Fawns because of their resistance when you've got 2 or more of them on the same team, but their resistance against Fergus, against Hrothgar, against any hero that gives a negative mana ailment or instant mana reduction, and that includes moths with the Moth Dust. So they actually gain mana every single time that Moth Dust is attempted on them if you've got 2 or more dwarves or 2 or more fawns on your team. As far as other heroes on my roster that are regular players in war, that Purple Ascension Mimic has been added to a team. Toon Sartan I usually use pretty much every war. Von Rothbert's been making a comeback for me because of his use against Gurik, and I find that I've been facing teams that don't have Astrid as much anymore. I see a lot of Chitrangada, see a lot of Sable, so Von Rothbert's been on most of my war teams. Darkfeather actually has made a to come back for me. I actually took him out because I felt like he was dying too quickly, and he wasn't useful against either Fergus or Bernadette during that meta. And now he can be used against Gurik, especially with Gurik being a yellow holy hero. So I've been building a couple purple teams against Gurik and trying to pair Darkfeather with some other average speed purples so that I can time their specials together, like Von Rothbert, and then also that purple Ascension Mimic. Chow Guy, unfortunately, I think may have been a waste of resources. And then these are kind of my other purples that I don't really use much. Moving on to my holy heroes, these would be my top 15 holy heroes, and I've got a lot of healers for the yellow category. As you can see, I've got Cleopatra, I've got Astrid, Rosalind, Sludges, Toon Vivica, Guardian Gazelle. I feel like Holy has a lot of really good healers that do different types of things. And the first hero that I want to highlight is going to be Ruan Zhao Qi. I love the fact that he's fast mana speed and the fact that he's a monk class, so he gets his special in just 7 tiles. And of course, he has the special skill that has a chance to deal critical hits. He does also have that family bonus passive where he will start off with 50% critical chance just based off of his family bonus. And then if you've got 2 or 3 other family members from that new Outlaws of Liangshan family, then you could get plus 60 or plus 70% critical chance also. But before he does anything, he dispels 2 buffs from all enemies. So he is a priority dispeller. Love priority dispellers. And then he deals 450% damage to the enemy with the highest remaining health, deals 250% damage to all other enemies. The enemy that had the highest remaining health gets 1194 water damage over 3 turns. This effect cannot be cleansed. He's also got some really cool passives. So he has the cleanse on critical special attack. When this character scores a critical hit with their special skill, they safely cleanse the latest cleansable status ailment from all allies. This effect can activate once per turn. Love the fact that it's a safe cleanse also. Then he's got the Righteous Rebellion, that when this character's special skill hits a character that had higher current health, they gain 20% boosted health. When this character is hit by a special skill of a character that had higher current health, they gain 20% mana. Each of these effects can activate only once per turn, but because of the fact that he has the ability to boost himself with 20% health and the fact that he's fast mana speed, I've actually seen him at tank in certain alliances and different setups. I'm not saying that he's going to be a meta tank, but he can definitely service as a tank because of the fact that he is a very hard hitter, especially if you've got any of those other Outlaws of Liangshan family to increase that critical chance, but definitely helps that he can help heal himself when his special goes off. So definitely a very useful hero. Next one that I want to highlight has got to be Silverpaw. Silverpaw is average mana speed, steals all minions or a mega minion from the target, inflicts the target with lasting greed. Friendly effects from special skills only affect the character with greed, and then all enemies receive 1263 curse damage over 4 turns, starting low and increasing every turn. Obviously that has scaled because of the fact that I have him double limit broken with masterclass emblems, although I think I went the defense path on him. Yeah, so I could have gotten the curse damage higher, but to me he was more useful because of the everlasting greed and the fact that he steals a minion or mega minion. I felt like that was the most beneficial part of his special. So he is a lot of fun to use against Gurik. You do need to be careful about the teams that you bring him up against though, because if they've got any of those cleansers, then the lasting greed will get cleansed. So if you go up against Ruan Zhao Qi or any of those other Outlaws of Liangshan, Song Jiang, Li Q, Suner Niang, there's a bunch of them out there now, and they are pretty common on defenses right now. And a lot of that is because of the fact that they safely cleanse on that critical hit. So it makes heroes like Silverpaw a little less useful. So you just need to be careful of that. If you can pair Silverpaw with another type of mindless attack or mana control hero, then obviously that's going to be helpful. As far as my version here, you can see he's got 1601 attack, 1812 shield, and 2504 health. And the third hero that I want to highlight has got to be Sludges. I feel like Sludges, similar to Von Rothbert, has become a lot more useful because of bards like Astrid being a little less frequent on defenses. And I'm not saying that Astrid is bad on defense by any means. She is still very good, has some very good stats, but obviously you don't want to bring Sludges against Astrid because the dancing is only going to last for 1 turn. I did go the defense path on her, of course. She's got 1429 health, 1642 shield, and 2682 health. Average mana speed, recovers 50% health for all allies, and then all allies except the caster dance to the Dance of the Slimy for 4 turns, where they get plus 45% chance to dodge special skills. Each dodge damages the attacker for 1600 damage, and when the dance ends, the dancer recovers 700 health. She's also got the passives, of course, where if you hit her for more than 25% damage, then she's going to get a mega minion, and when she dies, or if she dies, she gives a mega minion to her nearby allies with 50% health and 50% attack, or 50% health and 40% attack. What is that? Yeah. Also a great class being a cleric, so she has a chance to resist some of those effects that alter special skills. As far as some of the other heroes on my roster for Holy Heroes that are regular players in war, Rosalind, definitely, especially because of that safely cleansing mega minion. Salnus has been extremely useful since I double limit broke her. Satin Pimentor and Cleopatra, of course. I probably don't use Astrid as often as I would like or should on offense. I feel like Cleopatra and Sludgus are just slightly more beneficial from a healer perspective, because Cleopatra can pretty much get rid of Mega Fiends by herself because of her healing, especially with the 10% boosted health from her passive that is on top of her healing. And then Rosalind with the safely cleansing Mega Minion is very useful also. So considering all the healers that I've got, Astrid unfortunately just doesn't see it every single war. I do try to put her on teams when I do use her that help speed up other fast speed heroes that can't get to 7 tiles because of that extra 5% mana that she gives, or 5% mana generation. So obviously she's very useful for that, or if I'm going up against any teams that have dancers, then that passive that reduces the dancing to 1 is also very useful there. So I definitely do use her, just not every single war. For the other heroes that I've got, a lot of these ones are kind of outdated if you look at their stats or total individual power. I do have a couple other Titan heroes like Guardian Elephant here. We've got Essid at 4.80. I stripped her emblems though. Maybe if I eventually get her costume, she'll get some emblems back and maybe limit broken. We'll have to wait and see on that. Moving on to my ice heroes here. You can see my top 15 here, and my favorite ice hero right now has got to be Papa Smurf, aka Orker. I love fast mana speed heroes that are druids, monks, or sorcerers. You probably hear me talk about this all the time. Love the fact that they can get to 7 tiles without the costume bonus. So he's fast mana speed, recovers 30% health for all allies, gives a growth effect where all allies get 250 attack increase, and then he boosts the health of all allies by 450 after 3 turns, or immediately if the effect is removed before the duration ends. Boosted health can exceed max HP, of course. Then he's got some good passives, of course. He has Destroy Fiends on special. When this character casts their special skill, all fiends are destroyed from them. Obviously, that's going to be very useful with the veggies out there. He's got the superior resist negative minion effects. This character is immune to incoming negative effects and damage from minions and mega minions. Then he's got the resist healing ailments. This character is immune to status ailments that affect healing. And then, of course, he has the Astral Dwarves family bonus, which depending if you have 1 or 2 astral dwarves on your team, they do have to be unique and different. Can't be the same one, but he's going to have a 100% chance to resist negative mana ailments and negative mana reductions, and he has a chance to dispel a random dispellable status effect buff from all enemies at the end of each turn. That will be a 25 or 50% chance. He's got the damage reduction ether power, which is extremely useful for defensive types of heroes like Orker. Has awesome stats, as you can see: 1528 attack, 1847 shield, and 3023 health. And I've only got him at 22 emblems. I don't have enough masterclass emblems to increase him more, unfortunately. When I do, he probably will get those though. The next ice hero that I want to highlight has got to be Gluzmer, who is next up on my list to double limit break. Right now, I've only got him single limit broken with 23 emblems, but I do use him in wars, especially because of his usefulness against Guruk. He's fast mana speed, steals all minions or a mega minion from the target, deals 600% damage to the target. The target cannot cast any new status effects on enemies or allies for 3 turns. The target enemy receives Devouring Goo status ailment for 3 turns. Devouring Goo removes all dispellable buffs and growth effects, deals 200% damage per turn and 100 damage per each removed effect. He, of course, has the same passives as we looked at with Sludgus a minute or 2 ago with the mega minion he gets if more than 25% damage is dealt against him, and then if he dies, then the nearby allies get one of those mega minions also. I did go go the defense path on him. So he's got 1400 attack, 1649 shield, and 2576 health. I will eventually get him to 25 masterclass emblems and will eventually double limit break him. I probably will be able to over the next few days, actually. But Gluzmer has been a lot of fun to use so far. Similar to Damon with the ability to prevent an enemy from casting any status effects. So that was very useful against Bernadette when she was meta, and now obviously very useful against Gurik in the current meta. He does get his special in 8 tiles, so I try to put him with a Bard if I can, but with the current team that's been working for me with him, I don't have a Bard on it. I've been using a 4 blue and Bernadette team with Nautica speeding up Grimsteel and Bernadette, and then Gluzmer and Magni as some snipers, and Gluzmer obviously having that extra effect of Gurik not being able to cast any status effects. So he gets his special in 8 tiles if I don't have a Bard on the team. The third ice hero I want to highlight is going to be Hogni. Hogni is average mana speed, attacks the target and nearby enemies with Frostfall Strike, dealing up to 2300 damage, deals 40% more damage if the target is of the fire element. The special skill never misses its target and reduces max health of the target and nearby enemies by 800. The effect is stronger against targets with boosted health. The target and nearby enemies get minus 70% decrease for any healing received for 4 turns. He's also, of course, got the Arctic core damage. So my version of him, which is double limit broken with 22 emblems, makes it so that enemies get 448 frost damage over 3 turns, and that's each turn rather. And that does scale up with the legendary troop. And I didn't mention that with any of the other heroes we talked about with the damage over time, but that does scale up with the legendary troop and the stats that the troop adds for attack. He also resists the Arctic core damage, so if you're going up against any of those heroes from that family, then he'll resist it. Mahogany is very dangerous, and I usually pair him with 2 other average speed attackers that are also attack 3 hitters. So with Toon Richard is usually one of them, and then the Ascension Mimic that I have has lately been the other one that I've been pairing him with. Other regular players in War for me, definitely got to be Sable, Toon Magni, Grimsteel, Nautica. They've definitely been more regularly used with the Gurik meta. And then as far as some of the other ones like Ixen and Asien, it really depends on how many enemies the opponents have that have moths on their team. So if I find a team that has 2 or 3 moths, then I usually like to use my Woodland Fawns and Astral Dwarves against them because they're going to gain mana each time, like I mentioned earlier. And even if heroes are at level 85 and slightly less in stats, it honestly doesn't even matter because of the fact that they're gaining mana so quickly. Lord Loki, I've got 2 of him, and I've got 2 of Oniwakamaru. They are also really dependent on who I'm going up against. So if we see Bernadette in wars a lot, then they will definitely get used. Or if I can find another unique special to copy, then Lord Loki can definitely be useful. And Oniwakamaru is just a boss with that undispellable taunt and only 5 tiles. The rest of the heroes down further are really just more like Titan heroes like Costume Athena, Perseus, and Furman Richard. And that is pretty much it for my ice heroes. Moving on to my nature heroes, these are my top 15 as you can see, and the newest one that I'm going to highlight first is going to be Toxicandra, who I actually just used in Hero Coach. She is fast mana speed, has 1544 attack, 1671 shield, and 3034 health. I do only have 22 masterclass emblems on her. Obviously, I went the defense and health path. She's fast mana speed, recovers 30% health for all allies. All allies receive a moderate amount of mana over 3 turns, and then she also cleanses status ailments from all allies. I do need to be careful about who I use her against because I don't want to use her up against any moths because she does not safely cleanse. So that moth dust could potentially put people to sleep. And then she's also got the curse passive, which only shows up on her card when you get her costume, but she has the curse on special skill, which is the same as what Dark Lord has, what we looked at earlier, although the curse damage is slightly less, obviously, because her attack stat is less. So enemies will get 615 curse damage over 4 turns with that, starting low and increasing every turn. She's cleric class, so definitely useful against any enemies that block or prevent special skills. She gets her special in 7 tiles because of that costume bonus. I mean, there's not really a lot of flashy things about Toxicandra, but the fact that she gets her special in 7 tiles and can heal and cleanse, and then also increases the mana of everybody else, it is extremely useful to have her on your team. I usually try to have her as the off color in a 4-1 setup, so that if I don't get the 4 or the color of the 4 that I'm using, then Toxicandra can heal while they're gaining mana and actually increase their mana with that second part of her special. So she's been really fun to use because of that. And then Fafnir has got to be the second one that I highlight. I went the attack route on Fafnir, of course. 1827 attack, 1562 shield, and 3077 health. Fast mana speed, attacks the target and nearby enemies with the Frostfall strike, dealing up to 2100 damage. Deals 40% more damage if the target is of the fire element. The special skill never misses its target. All damage the target and nearby enemies receive is increased by plus 35% for 3 turns. The target and nearby enemies reflect status effect buffs to a random character on the opposing team for 3 turns. And then Fafnir, of course, also has the Arctic core damage, where up to 493 frost damage every turn for 3 turns, and the target's attack is reduced by minus 15% each turn. And that, like all of the other damage over time, scales up with a legendary troop, so definitely keep that in mind. That combined with the 35% extra damage, that Frostfall, or rather the Arctic core damage every single turn, I've seen that get up to like 850 to 900. It is extremely high. And if you compare Fafnir with another hero that has the molten core damage, the combination of those two together is detrimental to defense. I do notice that it is usually harder to charge that core when heroes are on offense, so just keep that in mind. You want to look at that percentage. It is definitely much easier to charge those Arctic and Molten cores when those heroes are on defense, specifically at the tank and flank positions. So just something to keep in mind, but Fafnir is very, very useful. And then the third hero that I want to highlight has probably got to be Bramble. I've got some good nature heroes. I mean, I could have chosen Grovert. I love the Mega Fiends that he gives. I could have chosen Heigl, who is a brand new attack growth hero for nature category. But Bramble is somebody that I'm actually leveling up a second one of because of how useful he is. I, of course, went the defense path on him. He's got 1409 attack, 1752 shield, and 3091 health. He's average mana speed, recovers 50% health for all allies. All allies gain 25% mana after 3 turns, or immediately if the effect is removed before the duration ends, and then safely cleanses status ailments from all allies. At this stage in the game right now, any hero that can safely cleanse is very useful. He's Druid class, so gets those Thorn minions. He's got some passives. One of them is Minion Blind. All enemies minions have 60% accuracy or minus 60% accuracy. All enemies Mega Minions have minus 50% accuracy. And then he's got the Resist Defense Reduction, so he's automatically immune to status ailments, stacks, and wither effects that affect defense. And then he resists Insanity, of course, as well. And then I haven't pinpointed any Fawns yet, but I did a couple Astral Dwarves. He has a similar effect, which is actually even better, where he has a 75 or 100% chance to resist both negative mana ailments and instant mana reduction, depending if you have 1 or 2 Fawns on your team, so you want to try to have 2 when you can. And he's actually going to gain 15% mana every time he resists, and again, that does count for Moth Dust. So if Moth Dust is attempted on him, and you've got at least 2 unique Fawns on your team, then he's going to gain 15% mana. And then plus 50 or 100% more damage is dealt to minions and mega minions. Very, very solid, useful healer. As far as some of the other green nature heroes that see wars regularly, I'd say Peregrine, Grovert, Fungustine, Sparktoy, Galapago, Kolya, definitely for that safely cleansing Mega Minion. Heigl really depends on how many teams I go up against that have Woodland Fawns, or rather, I'm sorry, that have Moths to help speed him up. Starlass kind of depends if I'm on Rush War. The others don't really see war too much. Grendel, sometimes, I would say less often now that the Fergus meta is gone. I've considered double limit breaking him, but I just haven't found a spot for him on a team yet. And then I've got some other more Titan heroes like Evelyn, Chloris, Tarlac, but that's pretty much it for my nature heroes. Moving on to our last category, my fire heroes. As you can see, I do have Bartholomew, and we may as well just look at him first. So I did go the shield and health route on him. I know some people went the attack route on him, but I felt like he was more useful because of the fiends that grow into mega fiends. So I went the defense path on him. He's got 1657 attack, 1821 shield, and 3066 health. He's average mana speed, deals 300% damage to the target and nearby enemies, deals additional 15% damage for each fiend or mega fiend owned by the enemies, up to 450% damage in total. Harvests a buff from target and nearby enemies. I'm going to talk about that in one moment. And then the caster and nearby allies counterattack with 110% of the damage received for 4 turns. So the harvesting of buffs is basically removing buffs, including undispellable ones, including the Slime Revive status. So I use Bartholomew on a Gurik team or against a Gurik tank team. And with Bartholomew, you actually want Gurik to go off first because you don't want to use Bartholomew first and then have Gurik go off after, and then everybody gets the Slime Revive. And it does only remove the Slime Revive from 3 enemies, but that is enough to make an impact on the battle. Ideally, you'd want to use it on 3 on one side, probably for whichever side the Reviver is on, depends on who you're going up against and what the status of the battle is, obviously. But Bartholomew has been a lot of fun to use and very annoying to go up against because of many things. 1, the fiends that he gives. 2, the counterattack that he has for him and nearby allies, and usually at the flank position. The damage that he gives isn't even really an issue, but those other 2 things that I just talked about, and then combine the fact that he has the empowered resist special skill blocking. This character is immune to status ailments that prevent the use of special skills. They also gain 450 boosted health and 5% mana each time they resist. Included in that being resisted is the dancing effect from Von Rothbert, which I have found out the hard way, thankfully in raids and not in war. But if you try to target Bartholomew or Elsbeth, the other Valiant vegetable, then it's going to get resisted and they're going to gain health and gain mana. So that's very annoying. And then any other type of special skill that prevents special skills, he's going to resist that and again going to gain health and gain mana. Very curious to see what the rest of these Valiant vegetables that might get introduced in the game look like and how they're actually going to do it. They could introduce them in the Covenant portal or in the Wilderness Summon, maybe, I don't know. Or maybe they'll create a new challenge event or Alliance Quest type of thing for the Valiant vegetables. I would say challenge event would probably be the one that makes the most sense. Moths are still pretty new, so I'd be surprised if they took away the Night of the Moth Alliance quest. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But moving on to my next red hero that I'd like to highlight, I think it's got to be Ceres, and Ceres is just a boss. Anybody who watches me in Wars or asks for hero advice for me on the Line app, which you can also do now on Discord, but anybody who talks to me about advice on who you should level up or limit break or anything like that, I am a sucker for growth and wither heroes. They are extremely useful and will definitely stand the test of time in the game and last a lot longer than some other heroes. And Ceres' average mana speed deals 600% damage to the target. If the target had more than 50% mana before receiving damage, targets another enemy who had over 50% mana before receiving any damage from the special skill. If none of the other enemies had 50% mana, targets a nearby or rather random enemy. The damage is reduced on each consecutive hit that each enemy can only be hit once. All hit targets get silenced for 4 turns, and all enemies, no matter if they get hit or not, get minus 250 attack and minus 250 defense with the Wither effect. Ceres also has the perfect accuracy passive, has the superior resist negative minion effects passive, and then also the superior bypass minions passive also. And I mentioned earlier about Astral Dwarves in that family having a 75 or 100% chance to resist both negative mana ailments and instant mana reductions, depending if you have 1 or 2 unique dwarves on your team. Obviously, Ceres has that passive, and then also the 25 or 50% chance to dispel a random dispellable status effect buff from all enemies at the end of each turn. Ceres is a lot of fun to use, very useful against pretty much any defense. And the last fire hero that I want to highlight has probably got to be Naeem, actually. Anybody who knows me probably expected it to be my girl Hathor, who I do love, but we're going to talk about Naeem, and I like to pair him with Bartholomew, which I'll explain why afterwards. But Naeem is average mana speed. All buffs affecting attack, defense, and mana generation on the target and nearby enemies are transformed into matching uncleansable ailments. Deals 330% damage to the target and nearby enemies. The caster and nearby allies counterattack with 145% of the damage received for 4 turns. Caster and nearby allies get sand touch for 4 turns, which basically gives the enemies sand damage over time if the counterattack works. You can see my version has 1581 attack, 1823 shield, and 2927 health. I did go the defense and health path on him. He's got the cool passives where enemies' mega minions are weaker, they have minus 75% health. He's got the magic carpet flight momentum shenanigan where he gets extra mana generation and then also extra chance to dodge. So that's definitely very helpful, but I like to put him with Bartholomew. I've been pairing them together on a team, both at the flank positions because of their counterattack, which does overwrite itself for one ally. But the reason I put them together is because I use Naeem first against Gurik because Bartholomew only harvests 2 buffs. So with Naeem, I can turn 2 of the buffs into ailments, being the mana generation and the attack, because Gurik himself adds 3 buffs to all allies between the slime revive, the increased mana generation, and the attack up that he gives. And then whoever else has ether power is still active, and then any other buffs that the enemies are giving as well. I mean, they could have like 5 or 6 buffs, so that slime revive may not get removed from Bartholomew, but pairing him with Naeem does increase that possibility. You don't have to use Naeem with Bartholomew. You can use a different Dispeller. Honestly, a regular Dispeller would be better probably, or maybe not better, but just as good, because it would remove everything but the Slime Revive, and then Bartholomew afterwards would then harvest that Slime Revive from 3 enemies. So I do find that they work very well together. I like to pair heroes of the same mana speed together, although sometimes Naeem does get his special quicker because of the extra mana generation he gets with the flight momentum. And those are the 3 heroes I wanted to highlight. Other heroes on my roster for reds that see wars regularly would be Revna for sure, especially with her reflecting of ailments and wither effects. Hather definitely sees most wars. Femifang is somebody who I've recently double limit broken and added masterclass emblems, and I'm trying to find a team chemistry for Femifang. The Red Ascension Mimic, Gestalt and Domi Ventus, Damon for his use against Gurik, and kind of stops it there. Ignazio, depending on how many healers I need. I do like the fact that he gets his special in 7 tiles, and I've considered double limit breaking him. He's on the list to get double limit broken as well. And that is pretty much it for my fire heroes. Some of the other ones we'll see up against Titans like Pepper Flame, Hammer Clang. Unfortunately, they're just too weak up against the meta defenses that I go up against in wars though. All right, so that's kind of a breakdown of my legendary heroes that I have on my roster right now. I do want to show you who I am currently leveling up for each color. And here are those 5 heroes. So for Dark, I didn't really have a Dark hero that I was like, oh my god, I need to level them up. And I've been wanting to level up Turgruk because of his usefulness against Titans and Mythic Titans. And it's primarily because of that stack that he gives. All damage the target received is increased. It says by plus 2%. It increases to plus 5% once his special gets to 8 out of 8. So you can get the stack up to plus 50% once his special is maxed out. And he's somebody that I'm probably not gonna double limit break. I wouldn't spend the resources probably on that. I probably would just get him to level 85, maybe add a couple master class emblems on him depending on what I have at the time. But I'm kind of just slowly leveling him up. So here's who I am leveling up for Dark. I recently pulled Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn seems like a very fun, interesting hero, and Rush War is coming up, so I might try to speed level them for that, at least for attack. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to double limit break them to have them on my defense. We're gonna have to wait and see. But Gwendolyn is very slow mana speed, cleanses status ailments from the caster and nearby allies, recovers 35% health for the caster and nearby allies. These stats obviously are off because of the fact that I don't have her special max. It's only 1 out of 8 right now. But the caster and nearby allies receive a moderate amount of mana over 6 turns, inflicts insanity on nearby allies only, not on Gwendolyn herself. And then she turns into that Yagmago for 6 turns, which turns into very fast mana speed with a new special dealing 300% damage to all enemies and inflicting 20 insanity on them. She also revives a random defeated ally with 10% health. So definitely excited to get her leveled up. And then I recently pulled Sung Jiang actually a couple days ago. He's average mana speed, of course. One of those new outlaws of Liang Shan that have a chance to get critical hits on their special. Deals damage to 3, silences 3, heals the caster and nearby allies. I'm not sure what the total percentage is, but that's who I'm leveling up for blue. And then we already looked at Bramble. I decided I wanted to level a second Bramble. So I am on the way to leveling him. And like I said, right now I'm just kind of slowly leveling these heroes up with mono feeding the same color into them. I actually don't have any Tome of Tactics at this point right now. So once I do get a Tome of Tactic, then I'll decide if I want to speed level somebody. I do also have Regent over here who I've been going back and forth with leveling, but I've been getting other reds. But now it is time for Regent to get leveled up. I love priority dispellers, and Regent is a priority dispeller for 3, and then attacks 3 enemies with that Firestorm Strike, and then the target and nearby enemies are immune to new status effect buffs for 3 turns, which is very useful against Gurik. So I'm trying to maximize the amount of Gurik counters that I have. Right now I attack Gurik in war usually 3 or 4 times each war. I'd like to build that up to be able to attack more Gurik tanks, because I feel like we're only going to see more of those as time goes on. And those are the 5 heroes that I am currently leveling up. And that is what my roster overall looks like from a legendary hero perspective. Again, I am part of the Praetorian Guardians. We are a top 25 alliance, so this is what you can kind of expect from somebody who is in a top 25-ish alliance. And I mentioned earlier before, we actually do have 2 openings right now in our alliance. We are a member of the Guardians family of alliances. So if you are interested in joining a high-level alliance, hit me up on the Line app, or you can reach me on Discord also. Both of my contact IDs for those 2 platforms will be in the description of the video. Let me know what you think of my roster, and that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy it or found it helpful, and if you did, hit that like button. Make sure you're subbed to my channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.